Hello, everyone, and welcome to Climate Conversations. My name is Kathy Yang, and today I am joined by Rome Cook. Rome is a passionate marine biologist and conservationist. Rome specializes in beaver behavior and is completing research on beavers, ecosystem, and climate resilience, as well as habitat restoration. They are also a content creator and an advocate for multiple communities, including mental health and gender identity. Thank you for joining me today, Rome. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm very excited.
Okay, let's just get straight into it. So you recently are working on research and published an article on beavers and how they can contribute to the ecosystem and help with issues like climate change. For those who are not familiar with this, like, could you explain about what type of pressures you guys are facing, what kind of pressures that beavers can help with? Yeah.
Yes, so I'm a UK-based researcher, and I think one of the biggest challenges we are facing in the UK is that we sort of treat environmental issues individually, when in
Hmm.
reality everything is interconnected. We're
Hmm.
facing biodiversity loss, habitat fragmentation, poor water quality, as well as increased flooding with prolonged droughts, all because of climate change.
Hmm.
Um, So agriculture is also under pressure to remain productive and while becoming more sustainable because of these impacts on climate.
Hmm.
Um, what I find particularly interesting is that link with agroforestry. So one of the big things in the UK is sustainable farming and things like that, and agroforestry focuses more on farming with trees, basically. So it's integrating trees into productive landscapes to improve all those things I said earlier: soil health, biodiversity, and general resilience.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and beavers complement that perfectly. They're very small little rodents, but they have such a big impact.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's the
Yeah.
sort of thing we're facing in the UK.
I live in the eastern part of the US, so we also have some similar issues like heat waves and stuff like that, especially right now. It's like very
Yeah.
hot. Yeah. Um, yeah, so could you talk about how beavers act as like ecosystem engineers and how they can encourage regulation and benefit the ecosystem?
Yeah, so basically, an ecosystem engineer, I think, is one of the most fascinating concepts in
Hmm.
ecology because these aren't species that live in an ecosystem, they actively shape it. So, an ecosystem engineer is a species that physically modifies its habitat
Hmm.
in ways that create opportunities for other organisms. There are fantastic examples across nature. So, you've got earthworms, which engineer soils by improving the structure. Corals in reefs support all these different marine species. Otters are very good at with kelp harvesting, and that helps moderate their little river systems. And beavers do the exact same in freshwater environments.
Hmm.
So when they build these dams, they're not just creating a pond; they're creating a new ecosystem. It brings in wetlands, ponds, marshes, standing deadwood. Um, Instead of one relatively simple stream, you suddenly have a big mosaic of communities and habitats with different
Hmm.
plants, fungi, insects, fish, amphibians, birds, and
Yeah.
other mammals.
Hmm.
And that habitat complexity is what drives biodiversity. Um, but yeah, they are. It's incredible what they can do for such a small act can creates this huge spillover effect into the surrounding landscape. It doesn't just stop at the water's edge. You know, birds
Hmm.
travel, you know, insects travel, different pollinating insects and plants travel. It's a huge spillover effect. But that's what I find so fascinating about them.
Hmm. So they don't only just like work on their own like pond or stream or habitat, they end up impacting way more than that and like the whole area around that. That's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. Um, so what personally inspired your interest, your article, and the research that you're ending up doing right now? Such a unique topic, so yeah.
Yeah, it is very unique, and it all started around 2024. I graduated from the University of Hull in 2025, but in my last year, my there was a list of independent projects, and one that really resonated with me was beaver research at Cropton in North Yorkshire, which is somewhere I've actually been a lot on holiday. I've
Mhm.
been to the site nearby, and I had no idea that all of this was going on in there.
Mhm.
So I signed up for that project, and originally my final year project was on lunar phases and how the moon can influence their activity. Um, it's very, very cool, because in these sort of full state moons, with like a new moon or a full moon, they're sort of based on web camera footage that we've had. They're more focused on that sort of building and caring aspect for if they have kits and things like that. And then in these waning and waxing phases, they go out and create. They go foraging. They go find trees to coppice and things like that. So it's all dependent on the moon in areas. It's very
Mhm.
interesting, and that's what really started it. And I just got so absorbed in this world where such a small little rodent is having such a huge impact on everything. So I
Mhm.
started reading scientific papers, and I did notice that a lot of the studies were looking at flood mitigation and water quality, insect ecology, and agriculture, but they were all separate. And
Mhm.
one thing that science is hugely interconnected. It's why there's so many subcategories, because there's so many little things that science is sort of a web of. They were
Yeah.
all producing these really valuable research, but they weren't like connecting together.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to look into the aspect of beavers being able to connect all these different areas together. And it sort of just spiraled from there. I was looking at all these different, beaver articles. There's quite a lot of interest of it up in North America. There's a lot in North Yorkshire, which is where it actually all started. That's what caused the legalization of beaver releases, and them being a protected species in Wales. It all started right near me, which I thought was just incredible. About
Yeah.
an hour away, and all of this was going on, which changed everything
Mhm.
about beavers in the world. But yeah, I mean, I could go on about beavers for hours. They are incredible creatures.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was all starting from like the last year of my university course, and it was just an interesting project that just piqued my interest. I love terrestrial and marine ecology together, and I thought, wow, these are strange, cute little creatures. I haven't really learned a lot about them. I'd like
Mhm.
to look into it.
Yeah, I feel like maybe there's not like we don't talk about them enough or they're actually like very underappreciated. So did you like were there struggles during your research? Was there like enough information for you or did you have any issues with that?
I did have some issues. It's currently a systematic review because there's just not as much research
Mm-hmm.
into beavers. It's a relatively new topic as well. I think what really kickstarted it to really become more in the research aspect is probably the Beaver conferences, which are run by the Beaver Trust. The
Mm-hmm.
big one was the Beaver Conference 2023, and from there we had a lot of new changes. We had the legalization, we had the new release sites and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't a lot of information around it. I did a lot of keyword searching, and I found over 10,000 articles, but narrowing it down to what's actually suitable for me, I found about 100.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very limited in what it is at the moment. I think also because people always feel that their research has to be segmented.
Mm-hmm.
It's not realizing that this they create these internet interconnected ecosystems. So why isn't our research also exploring and interconnecting with other areas?
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely limiting, but I hope that now things have kickstarted, we'll be able to get a bit more in the research space. And one day I'd like to actually have a statistical test of this of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, those are like some struggles, but also on the other side, what are some of your favorite parts or highlights of your research process?
Um, Honestly, really just finding how interconnected everything is.
Mm-hmm.
I started reading on obviously this flood management, and then it spiraled into everything else they can do in agriculture, climate resilience, insects, birds. I think a big highlight was I got to actually present my independent research at the Beaver Conference 2026, which was in May. Very exciting, very nerve
Mm-hmm.
wracking for someone who is very young. I believe the people who were also young there were PhD researchers, and I'm just sitting there with my little bachelor's degree with my PowerPoint, thinking, how am I gonna compete? But being able to speak alongside researchers and practitioners from directly in the beaver conservation was really rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of the conversations from there really like stayed with me and really highlighted why this is so important.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big discussion about rewilding, and in South Korea, they are allowing the release of bears into cities and basically suburban areas.
Oh.
And the residents are just cool with it. They're absolutely fine because they know there's a big impact on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
We, especially England, for some reason, we cannot find a practical way to coexist with a herbivorous rodent, while South Korea is out there with these with just bear populations.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is good for nature, it's good for the environment,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me think that if societies can learn to coexist with bears, surely we can find a practical way to
Mm-hmm.
coexist with a herbivorous rodent that just would like a few trees every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's understandable for farmers and things like that. Obviously, their beavers do actually rob some of their crops. They are very smart, but the highlight of this is that this conversation shouldn't be beavers versus people, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is what a lot of segmented research is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really interesting to learn that we can manage coexistence and just how much beavers really extend to every part of the ecosystem they create. Incredibly rewarding, incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I think definitely getting to present with all those experts. I mean, you're an expert yourself, so that's really
Oh,
nice.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I didn't know about the South Korea bear things. That's interesting. So, where do you see your future research going? Where do you see the scientific community's future research going? Like, is there anything we should look out for, or, what would you like to do in the future? Yeah.
I think, especially after visiting that conference and seeing the whole span of research that people are doing, I think
Mm-hmm.
we're entering a really exciting period because we're moving beyond asking whether they are beneficial and starting to ask a few more interesting questions. How beneficial they are, which ecosystem services provide the greatest impact,
Mm-hmm.
how did this benefit across different landscapes? And for me, my research would like to be taken in a direction of how can it be integrated into modern farming.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'd love to see more research combining that restoration and agriculture together.
Mm-hmm.
Trees improve soil structure, carbon storage, and beavers restore hydrology and habitat diversity. Together, there's a big potential to create landscapes that are naturally more resilient to climate change, which, as of recently, are one of the big things that the world is suffering with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested because I'm looking into the pest regulation side of things, and a slightly startling fact is that obviously ticks and mosquitoes specifically have a cycle. They, spawn in these spring and hot summer months, and
Mm-hmm.
then they usually die off in the winter. Climate change is causing that winter to be warmer, so they're not dying off, which can
Oh.
cause a very big problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that my research I really hope can, sort of help with that issue, because it's not just an issue as well for that, it's an issue for us as pet owners and things like that, an issue for, human health. I'd really love to see all these different areas be interconnected a bit more in the science pathway, because everything is interconnected, but we as humans feel the need to categorize every little bit. And I think we need to sort of throw that away a bit more.
Wow, good lesson. Yeah. Great advice. Yeah. I think we need to look at the intersection of things more, like beavers and how they can help with pests, which is isn't something you would normally think of, but once you like take a deeper look, it makes sense. Yeah. Do you have any like last comments or advice or anything? Any advice for people who want to start with research or
Yeah, for people who want to start with research, systematic reviews are very, very important. I don't know if they're taught enough, but it's what I'm doing, and that's just collecting all of your current data through different forums. And because if you know what the scientific community is doing, you are part of it. You're part
hmm
of that little ecosystem, and you can you can contribute. You know what's going on, so you are able to really pursue the subjects that you want because you know what other topics there are, you know where to go and things like that.
hmm
Independent researching, I'm not going to lie, it's hard.
hmm
It's a lot of I think it's the same goes with a quote I've heard about self-employment. It's not your own boss, you're your own slave. You really need to push yourself and keep going at it because it's something that only you can motivate yourself to do. That's one thing about independent research rather than funded research.
hmm
It's very much you are the person driving all of this. But please do not give up. If it's something you are really passionate about, it will take a while. I'm not going to lie. I've been starting this research since the end of 2024, sort of going into 2025. It takes a while, but everything good does.
hmm
So I can really continue to do that. And even if it's just a little bit now and then at that research, involve yourself in everything. Even if it's looking on some places like LinkedIn and things like that and seeing these little photos that they posted, that's just a little bit more information for you.
hmm
Just never stop learning, never turn your mind off,
hmm
because in the end, it will be rewarding.
Yeah. Wow, what a great like note to end this off on. Yeah. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for coming on to Climate Conversations. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.